Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7. Live on hot7025fm.com.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Cheryl Underwood, and you're tuned into the hottest news station on the planet, Hot 702.5.
What's going on, everybody? It's your main man, 360, the poet from the Morning Wood, and I'm here to talk to you about the Sci-Fi Center. It's your Vegas home for science fiction, horror, and fantasy. From comic books, toys, and posters to movie screenings and live events, they've got you covered. Located at 900 Cameron Avenue, Suite B209, give them a call, 702-900-4335, or reach them at thescificenter.com.
Hi. Hey.
What's up? All your favorite artists.
Check it out. Say my name. DJ Khaled. This is Mila J. Bruno Mars.
On hot7025fm.com.
Afternoon and another edition of the Comedy Cypher with yours truly, host, comedian, entrepreneur, just extraordinary Negro, Ardie Hollings worth overall. And I am joined today by two very, very special guests. And in the studio, I got to shout out my girl, the beautiful Etna Icarice Banks now, right? Yeah, on the engineering boards for us, man. We are live here from Las Vegas. Another hot, sunny, beautiful day here in Las Vegas. Another Saturday afternoon on the Comedy Cypher. As always, we keep the show funny. We keep the show engaging and dope guests only. We are going to continue with that tradition today. I have two very, very special guests joining me in studio today for a wonderful conversation today on the Comedy Cypher about education. Education, kids, the pathway to success in life, the only key to unlock the doors to the avenues of success that you want to enjoy long term for your life. So we'll be talking about some of those things from two very different perspectives, from the higher educational perspective, because I've spent some time in that realm as well, and then from our K-12 perspective, those foundational roots of education that gets you to that post-secondary level. So we're going to approach it from two different angles with two experts here in the field of education here in Las Vegas. So looking forward to that conversation. But let's kind of just do a little bit of weekly recap since last week. What have we been working on the Black 11 front? I'll tell you what we've been working on. Headliners. Headliners is what we've been working on. All week long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're thinking, we're processing, we're doing the necessary things to bring you the best comedy experience in Las Vegas. Headliners will feature all of the top headlining comedians from across the country, from across the world. Also, all your favorite acts performing in a lounge setting here in Las Vegas. If you've been to Bars and Notes, think of Bars and Notes on steroids, where we're bringing in those branded acts. We're bringing in those headlining performers, those headlining musicians. We're gearing up with headliners to be a full, fun day of entertainment. We're partnering up with the NFL. We're partnering up with the NBA. We're bringing in athletes and celebrities for our morning comedy talk show called The Morning Roast. Coming to headliners, then we'll have that afternoon live music lunch, live music happy hour from 4 to 7, and then we'll kick off our nightly shows at 7 and 9 p.m. and our late night hosted lounge party. So that'll be the lineup for headliners. And over the next couple of weeks, you'll hear me trickling out different things as we prepare and gear up for our comedy lounge launching on the Las Vegas Strip, God willing, very, very soon, very, very soon. So we're in the midst of doing all of the necessary things to bring headliners to you. So I'm excited about that. As you guys are probably aware of, this week, this is our first, I believe, official week where we didn't have shows scheduled. We pulled out of all of our shows, existing contracts that we had with venue partners in and around Las Vegas, so we can fully focus in on the launch and the grand opening of headliners, do our own thing under our own roof. So shout out to all of our former venue places, Cork and Thorn. Please continue to support that wonderful venue. Homegirl Garrett, our man Tony, down there each and every Wednesday night where we used to have Mismatch. Please continue to support Vegas Stand Up and Rock Comedy Club, where we got our launch with Black Fridays back in January. I shot my 2 comedy specials there. We did a run of Bars and Notes there, so that place will always be special for me. We had a lot of laughs in both of those venues and on those stages, so please continue to support those wonderful folks and gear up. Tell your girl the tickets is out, as we always say. The headliners is coming soon, man. What else is going on in the world we want to talk about? Let's address a couple of things. It's a sports. It's a college football Saturday. So I want to shout out once again my man Prime Time delivering last week, and hopefully again going to deliver tonight in the face of his haters. And he has a lot of them. He has a lot of them. Silent haters, loud haters, sideline haters, and the worst type of haters, the people with their lips shut, waiting for you to fail or slip up so then they can start talking shit. Yeah, we see y'all too, and we acknowledge y'all. So shout out to him and the power move that he made this week with the coach of Colorado State, talking crazy about the sunglasses and the hat and all of that nonsense to take attention away from the game. You know, focus on the field, brother. And then, you know, in true God-like fashion, where God will make your haters your footstool. I read a report just this morning that Dion made a whopping, drop the music for dramatic effect. E. Carice, drop the music for dramatic effect when we talk about these things. Yes, thank you. Dramatic effect. Deion Sanders was able to turn a troll into $1.2 million in sales of sunglasses for his own brand this week. Ain't God good, Saints? Cue the music. That's what God will do to your haters, man. That's why, listen, I tell you, let me look directly into the camera for dramatic effect. Again, you can keep the music going. God is not in the sucker blessing business, Saints. I keep telling y'all this all the time. Stop being a hater. Your energy is displaced. All right? Focus in on your hard work, your hustle, your vision for your life. Don't worry about what the next man is doing, man. Congratulate people and keep it pushing. But do not be a hater, because you're going to wind up looking like a whole sucker out here in these streets. So shout out to Deion Sanders. Colorado football, man, onward and upward, and continue to do great things. On the other college football front, my alma mater, Michigan State, we're suffering through some craziness going on with a he said, she said story going on out in the street. I just hope all the facts and the truths of that situation comes to light, and, you know, appropriate people have to face the appropriate consequences for their actions. But I just want all the facts and the truth to come to light, so we get this story right, we get it straight, because something smells fishy to me about that story. I feel like a good brother is being railroaded out of a contract, and I don't like it. I've spoke on it on social media platforms and addressed it, but that's all I'll say on the airwaves at this point. I don't want to slander anybody, but I think there's a lot of people that's going to line up for some slander when all the facts are revealed regarding that, with the situation going on at Michigan State, man. So college football Saturday, rooting for you and your team, man. As long as you and your team are not opposing to me and mine, I wish you the best of luck. Like they say in The Godfather, as long as your interests don't conflict with mine, I wish you the best of luck. So that's what we're doing here on the Comedy Cypher, man, Saturday afternoon. But before we take a little break and get into some music, I want to tee up our guest for our educational segment here on the Comedy Cypher. We have very special guests, 2 very special guests. I teased it up a little bit earlier, but I'm going to give them a formal introduction. What was that you gave me? What was that? Oh, okay. I was being told by my dynamic studio engineer to go to break, then come back and tee up our guests. I was going to do it and then leave you people in suspense and then bring them back like bow, but I'm going to lean to the expert over here in the room. And I'm going to go to break. We're going to play some music, and then we'll come back with our guest on the Comedy Cypher.
the dreams you see on screens. I always imagine that it's all fine, as long as I got you to make believe. Cause you give me purpose, you make it all worth it. Love got me feeling like I'm waking up, like a wish on a candle, a crown at a castle, like Cinderella, Ella. Cause we gon' make it happen every time. You gon' find them slippers in my size. Twinkle star my garage when we ride. Keep me icy diamonds, snowy white, snowy white, yeah. And nothing was sleeping on me. I didn't see what you see. You was the one applying the pressure. You was the one in my dreams. You were the one with the key. You found a way to make it all better. Fairy tales don't grow up on the west side. We don't dream the dreams you see on screens. I'll always imagine that it's all fine, as long as I got you to make believe. Cause you give me purpose, you make it all worth it. Love got me feeling like I'm waking up, like a wish on a candle, a crown at a castle, like Cinderella, Ella. Cause we gon' make it happen every time. Grow up on the west side. I always imagine that it's all fine.
What's up? What's up? Welcome back, man. That was Dimples with Fairy Tales, Las Vegas artist. Y'all definitely tap in and support her. Cool little groove on that song. I'm tapping old E. Carice over here like, who's that? What's that song? And she said she's dope from Las Vegas, so I'm gonna take her. You've been all hits, no misses with the musical selections. I will give you that credit. She's off camera, but y'all can follow E. Carice, Hot 7025, entrepreneur extraordinaire, just all around dope individual, man. Speaking of dope individuals, let's get into our dope guests. I teased it up right before our break, but I want to introduce these two lovely ladies joining us today on the Comedy Cypher. First and foremost, one of my favorite people to work with in a previous life. Before I told jokes to good folks on stage, I was knee deep, kneecap knee deep, waist deep, something else deep into the world of education. Man, I was assistant director of admissions at UNLV. I worked for a school called Grand Canyon University, where we used to recruit high school kids to come down to a small Christian university. It used to be a small Christian university in Phoenix, Arizona. Now Grand Canyon is exploding and doing great things in the field of higher education for those kids. But one of my favorite people to work with, I love working with people with passion and purpose. And this young lady, when I met her years ago, she was a counselor over at one of the better schools here in CCSD, and she was one of my favorite counselors to work with, because when you talk about people with passion and purpose, that passion and purpose is often manifested through their actions. So all the kids that interact with her fellow colleagues, principals, professors, everybody, or teachers, everyone would have lovely things to say about this young lady, and she always did her job. The kids loved her. Every time I needed something from her, room set up, whatever we needed to do presentations, to talk to the right amount of kids, she was always on point, on the ball, so became quickly one of my favorite people to kick it with. She's a travel extraordinaire. We'll talk about that a little bit today. I live vicariously through her vacation pictures, and let me tell you something, Saints. Drop the music for dramatic effect. Drop it for dramatic effect. Ladies and gentlemen, she did education the right way. Because when you see her, we're going to pop her on camera. She got no wrinkles in the face. She don't look stressed out, beat down, and worn out. And Saints, she's fully retired and living the good life. And she did it the right way. And I remember we used to talk about these things, and she had a plan. So we're going to talk about the execution of your plan as we bring the music back and introduce Sarah Rittner, CCSD, retired CCSD counselor extraordinaire. What happens in the music? You got it? Okay, good. We need the dramatic effect. All right. I'm going to get beat up after the show. by E. Carice. I could just tell she's side-eyeing me, man. And the second person I want to introduce as we bring into this conversation, Oval said, long intro. Long intro for dope guest, Oval, comedian. I see the comments. I'm going to do another long intro because we're going to have a conversation about it. This next guest, I've known this next guest since I was the age of 18 years old. We have been together for over 25 years, and we have been married for 17 of those 25 years. The best damn 17 years of her life, if I might add, Saints. And I want to bring to the Comedy Cypher for the first time. I actually got my wife to join me on the show today. Y'all give it up for another talented educational professional, man. We talk about passion and purpose. I see it every day in her life. My very own superwoman. She holds it down at the house with the kids. She's a dynamic professional in her own right. Director of Trio Student Services over at Nevada State College. Just all around MBA holder. What else you got? Engineer, design cars and shit. Like, let me tell you something, Saints. Fellas, when you're going out here trying to pick yourself a partner, you go get the LeBron James of the situation, which is what I did for myself, man. My beautiful, talented, better half, my wife, will keep the music going because I know, we dropped the music. We got to play. E. Carice. That's what I'm talking about. Look at that. Y'all, listen, my engineer better than yours. She just is. She's just better than yours, okay? Turn around and slap your engineer. All right. Listen, man, I want to bring in my wife, Lakeisha Hollingsworth. Go ahead, do that applause thing one more time. Hit the button. No, it's over. We missed the moment. Okay, forget it. All right, there you go. She said, Oval, what she said? Now that should have been the longest intro. Oh, okay, got you. All right, Oval. Appreciate you. Oval. We're going to get Oval, the comedian, on the Comedy Cypher next week. Nori, hook it up. All right. So let me bring in these two ladies. I know I did a long-winded conversation. I've been talking for a long time, but we're going to ask some questions of these two folks. First, I want to kick it to you. You hold on, because we talk about these things all the time. I want to bring in my girl, Sarah, man. Shout out to you. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, so let me tell you something. Like I gave you a little bit of background of your credentials. Talk to me about your history, your background in education, K-12 education. Bring us up to speed on who you are.
All right. Well, I ended up in Vegas through Northern Arizona University. Got my bachelor's in early elementary and special education. Mm-hmm. So I was a teacher in special ed for 7 years before I became a counselor. Got my master's degree in the first 2 years I was here.
Okay.
Through University of Phoenix. And then I was, like I said, a teacher for 7 years in Clark County School District, then parlayed into counseling for the last 20 of my career.
20 years into counseling, man. That's a lot of kids. That's a lot of impact, a lot of lives that you've had the opportunity to touch. Share with me some of your career highlights of students, maybe interactions you've had with students and helping them make kind of some of those transitional decisions.
You know, being lucky enough to watch each kid walk across the stage is always a highlight. There's definitely some that struggled a little harder to get there. Mm-hmm. One that comes to mind is a student that found out she was pregnant and was a couple credits short the last year of her of her high school career, senior year. So we worked hard, which included at the time me driving her even to, take a few tests and mm-hmm. pass some classes. She was luckily a Spanish speaker, so we were able to get a few credits that way and got her across the finish line. She's doing awesome today.
That's a wonderful, wonderful story. You mentioned, something that highlights what I was talking about, passion and purpose. You mentioned driving her to appointments, and oftentimes educators go over and above or beyond just the call of duty and what's in the job description. How did you wind up, being like a second, I would say maybe parental figure in this student's life?
I think that it just has to do with, the time in the office with the students at the start. You just build relationships with them. And I think in all aspects of life, relationships are everything. And at least in my opinion and in my job, it was nothing different. So building that relationship, making sure she trusted me, making sure her mom trusted me. Mm-hmm. Like I would never have put somebody in my car. I mean, it's not even really supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
You could get fired over that.
Yeah.
Risking your job.
Good thing I'm no longer employed. So, there's a lot of things that can happen, but you just build that relationship build it with the parents, with the kids, and with your staff. Everybody has to trust you, and so you have to be transparent with all of that.
Yeah, a good-hearted person. It starts with the foundation. I think your core, who you are. Speaking of good-hearted people, let's bring my wife into the conversation again. Give a little bit of your background. You spent some time in K-12, I know, when we first moved here. So introduce yourself to the people and tell them about your background and your journey in education.
So much. Hi, everybody. My name is Keisha Hollingsworth. I've done it all. I have a bachelor's degree from Michigan State University in mechanical engineering. So I spent about 10 years in the automotive industry, working for both Ford and Chrysler on interior of the vehicles as well as the vehicle powertrain. I always knew I wanted to be in education, and I sort of took a different route to get there. I actually started teaching as a junior at Michigan State University. I was a teaching assistant for Emerging Scholars, a program that dealt with minority students who wanted to take on occupations in STEM.
I believe the children are the future.
From there, when we moved here, I wanted to try something different. And so I started teaching at Andre Agassi Middle School, teaching math for middle school students who were, let's say, behind. They were not performing up to standards for like the NWEA and the CRT exam. And so that right there, that experience right there let me know I was in the right place. And from there, I wanted to pursue higher education because I knew that's where those students were headed. I wanted to make sure I could follow their journey, but I also wanted to inspire students the same way I was inspired.
And let's pause there and talk about that, like students who have successfully graduated maybe K-12 education, and they enter a realm of higher education, which is a whole new world because there's unforgiving in higher education. You either got it or you don't. You either make it or you don't. They got a whole crop of new paying customers to come in subsequent years. So there are some support services and systems available, right? But what do you think the mindset of a student has to be in order to successfully navigate those waters in higher education?
The mindset of the student has to be open to asking questions when you don't know. And I know for me, and I know for a lot of first generation college students, they tend to not want to ask the questions. They don't want to look like they don't belong. And It's just having an open mindset, being able to ask those questions, and don't be afraid of failure, because your failure contributes to your success.
Mm-hmm. Let's bounce back to Sarah, man. Do you see some of those similar parallels and from your experience and your time at K-12?
I agree. Like, there's so many students that go on to college that don't feel prepared and don't feel like they know the system. And so just always, there's so many students that, I'm still in touch with to this day, and that you continue, even as they graduate as a high school counselor, you're still supporting them and helping them along the way. And some of the programs like TRIO are so important for students that just don't have any background in education. A lot of their parents don't know what to do. A lot of parents have never been there. I was a first-gen student too. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to navigate college. So I can relate to what they're going through and how hard it is. And like she said, like asking questions, like finding your person. I always tell them, you need to find a Miss Rittner in college.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Find an advocate, a person that can help you, guide you through that.
Right.
Let's talk about how these things come to be, right? We're talking about, I asked a question about what the students could do, but a little bit of background. I think the way our economy is set up, the way our society is set up, we create victims. We create educational victims. There are people born into victimhood just by being unfortunately born to parents in unfortunate situations. So we look at a school system like CCSD, and you both have a lot of experience working in that system, which I think, there's no greater example of the creation of educational victims than a large behemoth, 5th largest school district in the country, which is CCSD, is massive, serves a very diverse population of students from, if you understand anything about how Las Vegas is set up, from the most affluent and wealthiest areas in this city down to the poorest areas. All of those students are under one umbrella with CCSD. So talk to me, both of you guys, about your experience working with diverse student populations in CCSD, and what can parents do, two-part question, what can parents do to help better prepare their kids for the challenges that they'll face and then the road to post-secondary success? I know that was a long question, but you both are smart people. Y'all got degrees and stuff.
Okay, I'll go first. I've worked with students, at the lowest economic schools and all the way up to the highest. And one thing that I see the difference in parenting is the involvement level. So, when you're working at a school that has a lot of students that are doing really well, a lot of the times their parents are involved to a point where some of the staff is like, whoa, slow down, not so involved.
Yeah.
But
helicopter parents.
But we don't see that on the other end, and so I think that's a huge difference of what parents can do is just be involved. Don't be afraid. Unfortunately, a lot of our students, sometimes have parents that are afraid to even contact the schools because maybe they're not legal in the United States, or maybe they had bad experiences themselves with education, and so they don't trust the schools and they don't trust the people. So again, finding that one person at the school that will help and guide you through as parents, finding that person, whether it be a counselor, even a secretary, maybe the front office staff, somebody, a teacher, anyone that you trust and that you can ask questions, bounce things off, say, hey, is this right? I don't know if this is right.
How do you find that friendly face? Let's get very, very, very granular for that mom that's walking her kid up to middle school, elementary school, high school, or whatever, and you see this, entire, staff of teachers, counselors, people who are there to help. How would you put yourself in that person's shoes? How would you go about finding some of those advocates?
I can speak to to the higher levels, and then you guys have kids, so you should speak to the lower levels. But I think for the high school, it's just, going to conferences, going to the open houses, going to events, making sure your kid gets involved, and then meeting those people that are responsible for those events and those nights. So the teachers, the counselors, the advisors, the coaches, and then you'll get a vibe. But I think all people get vibes. Get a vibe from someone that you just feel right with.
Good game. I just wanted you to elaborate on that. Definitely. I know I came up, and my wife as well. We came up in Detroit public schools, so there's a lot of parallels. And I grew up in 80s Detroit public schools. I'm talking about free and reduced price lunch public school. I'm talking about multiple gangs under one roof. In public school, all of the pitfalls, sharing books. Like, you can read the book for the first half of the class, then you got to pass it to your neighbor for the second half of class. That type of public school, all right? Talk about teachers who tell you wouldn't amount to nothing in public school. Talk about teachers who put side bets on fights in public school. That type of public school, all right? The warm chocolate milk public school. So, same question to you, LaKeisha. Keisha. What can parents do?
Parents, and I will reiterate the same thing, parents have to be involved. One of the programs I worked with at Nevada State University was Upward Bound, and there's a strong parental component where parents have to sign off on a lot of the forms. They have to provide the tax forms. They have to be active in the open house, active in the activities that are provided to the students. But there's also another component where parents are also introduced to the college system. And so those who want an opportunity to go back, they have that opportunity at Nevada State College. So definitely parental involvement is key.
Yeah, definitely parental involvement. And I think, one of the things that I want to just highlight and reiterate is that these are college students who still need that support system from their parents, especially in that transitional year, that first year, and first generation student, which can be intimidating. Let's talk about some of those factors. I wanted to do this episode earlier in August as we were gearing up for back to school, but we're a few weeks into the school year. But let's talk about some of those things that you've witnessed with first generation students in particular, getting to the post-secondary level, and how it could be culture shock, very intimidating, financially crippling, all of those types of things. So what are some of the things that you think parents and students can do to prepare themselves for a life that they will inevitably have to live?
The financial component is a big one. It's one that I see every day. For parents and for students to prepare, it starts in high school. Being educated by the counselors, reaching out to get information on the FAFSA, what they need to prepare for as they come to college, and how to complete that form, and getting with the financial aid office. That is definitely one of the biggest issues I see that my students face today. Just knowing where to get money. Sometimes it's just a simple Google search if you're looking for scholarships. When they run out of money, what do they do next? Fortunately for my program, we offer grant aid to our students. And that money they don't have to pay back. It's $30,000 a year offered to my students.
Whoa, be careful dropping amounts. I don't want people blowing up your inbox. You still got some of that $30,000 left? You know how people do.
But outside of that, resources. Resources are big. There are plenty of student support resources on college campuses. Again, you just have to ask the questions or find that face. And for me, I always make myself available. Any event that happens on campus for first-year students, I'm always there letting people know exactly where my office is. Email, you have my phone number. Walk up, come see me, ask me questions. I am very open about what my college experience was like. I'm open about how much money I racked up in student loans.
Yeah, I know.
So they understand, like, you know, college is a big commitment, but if you're committed to it, there are people that are there to help you. All you have to do is ask.
Yeah, and we talk about resources. That was one of the things that made you one of my favorite counselors, Sarah. In terms of having the resources available and equipping those students with the knowledge and resources. And I know you used to keep a ton of things in your office, and your office was a very welcoming space for students as a counselor. So talk to us a little bit about that and why you felt it was necessary to structure your space that way.
Yeah, well, going backwards, the necessary part is that, you know, I'm still at this point, you know, 50 years old, paying off student loans for my master's degree. So, you know, I don't, you know, we don't want that for students. You know, we don't want them to be in that place. And so I think that having the resources and having the availability of all different levels of kids in need. So, you know, sometimes we have to fight students that have wealthy families that don't want to do the FAFSA. And what they don't understand is that just because they don't do the FAFSA, and they might have doctorate degrees and might be, you know, but that because they don't do the FAFSA, their kid is losing out on resources.
Right.
You know, or kids that don't even know how to fill out a scholarship application and they're afraid. And I think sometimes, you know, it's just the matter of sitting down with somebody. And so like having parents just sit down with your student, walk through it together, you know, or find somebody, you know, that you can sit down and go through the resources. You know, Vegas has a ton of local resources for scholarships. And I see so many students that just think, oh, I'm not going to get it, so I'm not going to fill it out.
Right.
You know, as a scholarships person, you know, for 4 years, that was my position to get kids to apply for these scholarships. And there would be scholarships where we would get 4 applicants in a city of thousands and thousands of seniors, and it's sad.
I remember you did some work with the Public Education Foundation, if I recall.
Correct.
Yeah, and I remember a conversation we had about that. You know, I was still in higher education, how many scholarships were available with low applicant levels, or scholarships that had virtually no applicants that reverted back. Those funds reverted back to that granting agency. So parents out there that are thinking that no opportunities, no scholarships, no resources are available, they are in fact available. You might have to do a little bit of digging, a little bit of hunting, but those things are available. So off the top of your head, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but talk about some of those resources that maybe you know have been connected with that parents can tap into.
Well, the biggest one in Las Vegas still continues to be the Public Education Foundation. It's a hub of local scholarships. All school counselors have a website, you know, and I tell students all the time, you don't have to only stick to your high school's website too. Go to other high schools, go to, you know, find one that reads well to you, that you can navigate it well, because we're all receiving the same information from a local central hub. And so we put it out in different ways that make sense for our students at our schools, but it might not work for them. So, you know, and then also looking through the college websites, you know, the college websites that they're going to have local scholarships. They have scholarships that you could use even if you don't stay at that college. So there's a ton of resources. Ronald McDonald House is great in town. They do a ton. There's another foundation that, because I'm on the spot, I'll think of it, but that they also they're like the PEF, where they have like a hub of scholarships as well. And there's just a ton locally, like making sure you ask the questions, making sure you look at the websites. It does take a little bit of work, and I think that's the hard part about most of those scholarships. You have to apply as a senior in high school. I would say 75% of college scholarships are probably senior in high school applicants. And we've all met seniors in high school. So it's tough. You know, it's tough to get them to do anything, you know, especially after December. So
yeah, seniors in high school is a great point. I want to talk to both of you guys, because I know you work with 8th graders transition to high school, and I know you work with a lot of high school students. That I think one of the most critical years, that pivotal year, is that 9th grade year. It's often ignored. It's often celebrated in the sense that, oh, like a relief. Oh, I've started high school. I've made it this far. But let's talk about the timeline of why that 9th and that 10th grade year is so important in terms of your educational foundation and your access to those types of scholarships. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on that in particular. We'll start with you. Why is that important? I can tell the people, but I want you guys to tell them.
It's the foundation. It's the very beginning. That is what if you think about college, your first 2 years, you're taking those entry-level courses. You're taking stuff that is going to be your foundation for getting into your major. It's the same thing with high school. Those are your foundational courses. How you perform in those first 2 years kind of guides what's going to happen in your junior and your senior year. So you want to make sure you're not just there. You're there and you're actually performing to the best of your ability.
Yeah, the performance aspect is where I was leaning towards. Talk to us about that from your experience. What have you seen?
Absolutely. The system is set up right now that everything that happens in 9th and 10th grade is what you're tested on to go to college and to get those scholarships and to get those different opportunities. So getting, everything. If you have to stay up all night one night just to get that B instead of the C, do it. Like that's what it's all about. Those A's and B's will take you a long way, especially in the freshman and sophomore year of high school. Junior year is pivotal because that's when you're getting into the deeper things. A lot of the students that are at specialized high schools are taking like the higher engineering classes, the medical classes, all of this stuff that's going to get them to start having internships and rubbing shoulders with the professionals to see if that's even what they want to go into. But those 9th and 10th grade grades will follow you and bite you everywhere. So.
Yeah. Let's transition conversation a little bit, as you brought up, one of the things that I'm always passionate about with passion and purpose and career, because we're doing all of this stuff, and all of this educational stuff has a purpose, has a long-term goal. So what do you say to those students that are out there right now and they have no idea what they want to do, who they want to be? They don't even know who they are right now. And we're almost requiring them to speed up that thinking process in terms of adulthood and what you want to do, and gravitating down or going down this particular path in terms of classes and AP courses and those types of things to set yourself up and prepare. But rewind back and put yourself in the shoes of those students and kind of your thought processes or what their thought processes are at the time. And put your counseling hat on for this one. What would be some of the things that you would tell those students to kind of help them through that phase?
If I'm thinking back, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I knew that was okay because life is not, it's not a race. It's a marathon. You're in it for the long game.
A marathon is a race, but we gonna let that one slide. No, we not. I brought it up. A marathon is a race.
What I'm saying is, it's life. If I'm sitting here right now, I have 2 degrees. I've gone on this journey of life and I'm still trying to discover what it is that I want to do next, and that's okay. The education opens the door for me to try different things. And so for students, if I'm putting myself in their position, just thinking about where I was, just give it a try. Like, go for it.
Sample different things.
Don't be afraid. Try new things. It's life.
Would you recommend internships or job shadowing and those types of things? What would you say are some actionable things that they can do?
Internships would be a great one. Make sure they're paid internships. Don't do any work for free. I actually started my internship.
Like a capitalist over here.
Hey, nothing's free. I started my first internship in high school with Ford Motor Company, and that's kind of what led me down the path to engineering. Job shadowing would be great as well. Even, just working a part-time job, getting the feel for what life would be like if you had to work full-time. You might not want to work full-time. You might want to own your own business. You might want to be an entrepreneur. So knowing what that's like in your early years can kind of set you up for what's later.
True story. How about you, Sarah? Your thoughts on that?
I think experiences are everything, right? So even, Ardie, when you were a donut pusher back in the day and you would...
Pizza, it was actually pizza.
Pizza for the kids, donuts for us. I was fat the year I knew Ardie as a recruiter. But, kids probably came to you for Grand Canyon and you were like, why are you even sitting here? You don't even have any kind of aspirations. And not all kids need to go to college. That's not the thing. I'm not an advocate for that, but I am an advocate for finding your passion. And so as far as not doing anything for free, the only thing I would say to do for free is get your volunteer work in. I would say it's impressive as a scholarship reader and a scholarship evaluator when a kid has 300 hours at one location. So if you think you want to be a doctor, then get your butt to a medical doctor's office or a hospital and volunteer for 300 hours, ninth grade through 12th grade. If you think you want to be working on cars, then volunteer at a car shop, do something. It doesn't matter if you're taking out the trash, but you being there, you're going to be able to see what the inside scoop is. So just getting your hands on things that you think might be a possibility.
Very, very, very valuable game, because, you know, there's different types of knowledge that you can acquire, and that knowledge as a practitioner, person who's actually doing it, feeling it, seeing it, touching it every day, the underbelly, the nuance of those jobs. You may look at something and see it's like it's glamorous career, and you get into the background of the job and you understand that there's an underbelly that, you know, of a whole bunch of other things that can make it not so glamorous. Yeah, so let's talk about your specific jobs or job that you've had, Miss Retiree. Let's talk about that a little bit, like life after and the jobs that you had. And if you had a magic wand, like as an administrator, you can wave your magic wand and change anything about the educational system at either the post-secondary level or the K-12 level, what would you do?
Wow. So, you know, I think it's you know, our system is also set up to hate those that boss you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, you know, there's always an adversarial position, not always, but a lot of times with, you know, staff, teachers versus administrators. But I think that one of the things that, you know, teachers would probably appreciate is understanding what it is that they're doing to help further their ability to just teach. Because that's one thing I think that's out of control right now is that teachers don't get to just teach. And I think that that's one of the glamorous things that you're talking about. The glamorous of being a teacher, it's almost like being an entertainer. I felt like I was on stage all the time. It was awesome. That part of my job when I was teaching was amazing. I loved presenting, you know, even scholarships when I was at the PEF. Like, I loved that part of it. But all the other stuff, all the paperwork, all the rules you have to follow, all of the different things that take away from the actual job. I think that that's one thing administrators can do better at, making sure that teachers understand, or taking it off of them, taking it off of their shoulders. Off
of their plate. Yeah. How about you, from the administrative perspective? You had a magic wand. What changes would you make?
She hit the same thing, but I'll just add this: the pay. Teachers don't get paid enough to do what they do, because we're asking them not only to go up and teach students, we're asking them to parent sometimes. We're asking them to be a mentor. You know, we're asking them to be a chef. I mean, making sure kids are eating, because I've seen it, you know, and I've lived it, you know, where students come to school and they're hungry. We're asking teachers to do all of this on top of, we can talk about some of the other social issues that are happening with the gun violence. We've got them suggesting that teachers carry guns to ward off violence in their classrooms. We're asking teachers to do way too much and not get paid enough. So that's definitely one of the things I would change. The pay is just not right.
Yeah, definitely all great points, man. And you know, when you think about time on task as a teacher, as an educational professional, you actually spend more quality time with people's kids, with folks' kids, than they actually spend with their own children when you just think about the structure of a day. If you're a parent and you're working an 8-hour job, your kids are going to school, you know, during the day, by the time you get home, you got dinner, you got homework, you got after school activities, sports, whatever. So in terms of quality time, that teacher has spent the good crux of the day. After you do all the little nuance stuff for 4 or 5 hours at night, it's time for bath and bed. Hopefully you're taking a bath. Time for bath and bed. So they can get up and start the whole process over the next day in the morning. So that teacher is a critical component to that child's life. Let's talk about, I love anecdotal or not anecdotal, but like little nuanced stories, reflectional stories from your past. So talk to me about an impactful story of a student that you've encountered or worked with over the years, and if you followed that student beyond your interaction.
Oh, I got a couple. Can I do two?
You can do two.
Okay. First one, I will say, well, one of my students that I first taught at Nevada State College, I was teaching a foundational math course. And I was pregnant at the time with our daughter, Parker. And I usually get like mild contractions during class. And the student, she's older, she was about 45, and she would always say, I cannot believe you're coming in here every day teaching, and like I'm actually understanding. Anyway, a few weeks ago, I was in Target with the girls and I heard somebody calling my name. And I turned around and this lady was running towards me, and it was my student. She's a nurse now, and she talks so much about how much I impacted her life and how I made math easier for her to understand. And her daughter actually just enrolled in Nevada State University as well. Second one, middle school student. When I say names on air, I think my first week into teaching, I had told the class to do something, and I heard, can I cuss on here?
You can cuss on
All right. So I heard somebody mumble, "This bitch." And so...
Oh, tell me the names so I can track them down and fuck them up. So we can cuss out.
I turned around.
I am not listen, wait, let's pause right here. I know we running short on time, but Ardie D. Hollingsworth of the Detroit Hollingsworth is not opposed to fucking your kid up. But proceed.
No, I turned around. I knew who it was, and I was upset. So
I've never heard this story, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Grabbed his stuff, told him he could go. If you're going to call me a bitch, you can come out of my classroom. So I threw his backpack out, sent him out. Obviously, parents had to come up and do a conference.
How have I never heard this story?
Oh, I don't know.
You probably knew
spoke,
better.
Well, let me tell you. We spoke. He ended up being one of the smartest students that I had in my classroom. He's a great artist. He is a wonderful father to this day. And so, yes, I have followed him since then. So that one interaction actually turned into something positive.
That's cool.
So.
I'm going to find this kid and call this kid a bitch. I'm not above petty. I'm just playing. I'm not going to call you kid. Go ahead. Great story. I like the first one better than the second one. How about you, Sarah?
I think about when I was a middle school counselor, and I had to do something every quarter for straight A kids.
Uh-huh.
So every quarter we would do something fun, like I would go to the little Las Vegas Grand Prix. But before that, we would go tour a magnet school.
Okay.
And so hopefully by the time the sixth graders that earned straight A's all the way through middle school would have 9 different magnet schools that they've actually visited, before they get to go to high school. And, that was one of the keys to lower economic schools is trying to get the kids to not necessarily go to their zone school, try to get them to
go to a magnet school,
find a passion, find a school that has a degree or a major that you're interested in. So a lot of those kids have turned out to follow me because I ended up going to a magnet school as a counselor as well. And they didn't necessarily follow me, but we ended up at the same school. And one of them went all the way through me working with the Naval Academy. I work with the Naval Academy as a volunteer. And he ended up being a nuclear sub, graduating from the Naval Academy and going all the way. And we still keep in touch to this day. And he's offering, I still do the Naval Academy. He's like, hey, let me know if you need to talk to anyone. Another one from that same school let me know she became a social worker after, and caught up with me years later. Like I didn't know, and then kind of dumped a lot of the family stuff she was going through back when I was her counselor. And I had no idea.
Yeah, she was going through all of that.
And I kind of felt like, wow, like I'm a horrible person. Like I did not even know you were going through all that. She's like, no, it was, I kept it, but you gave me what I needed at the time.
Right, yeah.
I couldn't let you know because I didn't want my parents to go to jail. But I thank you, and she went on to be a social worker to help students in her situation.
Yeah. That's why it's important, man. I think, not to get all religiosity on y'all, but I always say this, spirituality and God really is running a spiritual Ponzi scheme in a good way, in the sense that when you are a good person, you are so impactful to other people, and you help transition their lives into stories like that where they actually want to give back and be good people. So I think it's just important to lead with kindness and lead with being a good person, especially if you are in a position of influence as an educator or you're working with any vast amount of young people around you. So as we wind down the Comedy Cypher, how can people get in contact with you to shout out your socials and all of that stuff, and then we're gonna ask you one more question before we get out of here. However you want them to reach out to you. If they want to ask any more questions about education, they see you as a resource, they see your face over here. If there's a certain somebody out here that wants to apologize for calling my wife a bitch, feel free to reach out. And you can dial in at 702-551-5261, hot7025fm.com. How can they reach you?
Facebook, Keisha Hollingsworth. I'm always on Facebook, so.
All right.
And same, I'm super transparent. I don't have any funky pretend name. It's Sarah Rittner on Facebook, and especially all my former students shout me out.
Former students, shout her out. Yeah, it's important too if you're a former student, man. Reach out, reach back. Let people know how you were doing, man. They poured a lot of time and love and energy and attention into your little badass. So let them know if it worked out or not, man. Shout out to all the people that's been impactful. That's the last question I wanted to ask you guys to bring it full circle. Shout out to some of the people that's been impactful in your life, your educational journey, your career journey. We'll start with you, Sarah.
Well, it has to go back to mom and dad. So
mom and dad.
And I know mom's listening. Dad, rest in peace. They did not. My dad did a college thing before he went to Vietnam, and so he didn't finish. Mom did a few college classes while I was in high school, I remember, but she didn't finish it either. So, myself and then my sister went on to be. We're both in the helping profession. So
there you go. What your sister
God
do?
Bless us. She's a nurse. And they're about to strike too. So it's a strike world for our helping professions. We just got to pay them more. So I would say my mom and dad. They started it all.
Is that your mom, Dottie?
That's her.
What's up? Shout out to Dottie. You did a great job, Dottie. Pat yourself on the back, Dottie. All right. And then before you get out of here, shout out your better half, too. You've been out here taking pictures, your hype, man. Y'all one of the cutest couples, man. They always on vacation, and she's really enjoying her retired life. And I see the pictures, and I smile. I'm happy for her because we first started talking, and she had a plan. She's like, I'm doing this for boom, 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 and I'm going to be out of here, and I'm going to be retired. So shout them out.
Yeah, no, Berlin is my better half. I would definitely say he makes me a calmer person, more peaceful in all of my life, and he definitely is my travel partner. He's inspired some things that even his friends are shocked. So we were scuba certified. We're taste testing all the islands to know where we're gonna.
You got
end
the
up
brother going underwater.
Man, it wasn't. He got me going underwater.
Oh,
that's
shout out to Berlin, man. He out here scuba diving. Look at that, man. We president scuba diving, man. Black people. I love everybody black. I'm just playing. Shout out to Berlin, man. How about you?
Definitely mom and dad. My mom is the one who helped me type. Well, back in the day, we had to type out our financial aid information, sending in letters. And my father, he just passed away last year.
Rest in peace to James.
He's the one that gave me the math brain, because I used to watch him at the kitchen table at night studying for his electrician's exams, and he was self-taught. So those are my two people that have inspired me.
Good man. Yeah, man. So, ladies, thank you guys for joining us on this episode of the Comedy Cypher. Hopefully, you people out there have been enlightened a little bit or intrigued a little bit by our conversation. We try to keep it lighthearted. We try to keep it jokey a little bit up here, but also informative. So I love to bring dynamic, great guests on the show to share their perspectives, their background. We usually do a segment called Interesting Motherfucker, and we're going to just go ahead and give both of you guys that hat today as the interesting motherfuckers of the week. It's regular people doing extraordinary things, man, being impactful in their communities, just being all around dope, great people, man, that everybody should tap into and connect with. So thank you guys for being on the show today. Anything else before we get out of here?
Shout out to all the teachers in CCSD.
Heck yeah, all staff. Keep it going, guys.
Yeah, there's a strike and everything going on right now in CCSD.
Yeah, man. It's not, we can't strike, so this is not strike states, but they're trying to get to a better agreement.
Okay, better agreement. Y'all sit down at the table, hammer it out, work it out, so we can get these kids educated, man. The educated kid is one less kid breaking into your house or your car or your apartment. All right.
That's right.
All right. So let's the children are the future. Let's sit down as adults and figure this thing out. Y'all join us next week on the Comedy Cypher. Shout out to the owner of 7025 FM, E. Carice, working the engineering boards. My dog, she out here fresh with a new pair of Jordans on again today. We're going to rob her after the show, y'all. Next week, 3 o'clock. All right, we'll be right back here with more dope guests, more great times on the Comedy Cypher. Download that 7025 FM app, and y'all can follow Black 11 Entertainment, and we'll see y'all next week.